Welcome to Where Her Heart Speaks, a show designed to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also to help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine begins now.
Hi there, it's Coach Catherine. Do you or have you ever wondered the state of your nervous system? Like we've all heard about the fight or flight response, but what does that really mean? Listen, I've created a quick and easy assessment for you to determine the state of your nervous system. Is it keeping you safe or is it keeping you stuck? Is it allowing you to be your authentic self and drive and thrive? Oftentimes we don't know. But you now have the opportunity to not only find the answer to the state of your nervous system, but also find out how you can experience more peace and calm in your life. Go ahead and go to my website at www.catherinejames.com, where you'll find the assessment on the front page. Take the assessment, do what's recommended, and allow yourself to move into a space where you can experience more peace and calm in your life. Now, I don't know any woman who hasn't had at one time or another wished her weight was different or that there was a different number on the scale or in her closet. What if instead of simply following the normal methods where we focus on diet and exercise, we take a more holistic approach? Why? Because statistically, the average person goes on 126 diets in their lifetime. And of that, 95% of those dieters, they actually regain the weight. And I don't know about you, but hearing those statistics, I'm just thinking there has got to be a better way. So this is Coach Catherine James, welcoming you to another session of Where Her Heart Speaks. Those that are new, welcome. Those that have been here before, welcome back. This week, I have a beautiful soul sitting with me, and we're talking about something that so many women struggle with, their weight. And we are going to give you another perspective, a different option. So I have before me Dr. Jay Houston. And Jay, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for your yes and bringing such a, I think, more holistic approach, but also just a more cutting edge approach to help us understand other options and how we deal with our bodies. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business so that we can dive into all this goodness.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. I am so excited to be here. And I love talking about soul-centered eating, a holistic approach to weight loss, and what that means. I'd like to just share with folks for a minute how I got here.
Yeah, please.
As a kid, my nickname was Chigger. I was so tiny. And that's the way I grew up. I never thought about what I could eat or what I couldn't eat. And I was raised in Texas. My granddad had a grocery store. I'd go over there every Saturday and head straight for the candy. And at lunch, ice cream with my grandma. She did feed me food. And then I would also go back and eat more candy in the afternoon. But at home, we didn't have sweets much. I was never shamed for what I ate. No one ever said, "Do you need that?" And so here I am in this little body, moving through life quite well. And then it hit. My dad at 39 years old, died. And I was 13. What happened? Within 14 months, my mom remarried, moved me 90 miles away from my hometown, from my school, from my friends. I was grieving the loss of my dad. And here I am with a stepdad, a stepbrother that was 6 months older than I am, that was a hellraiser. And I'm in a new school, new town, and I am lost. I was lost in grief because what I lost was not just my dad. I lost my mom because she was busy bonding with this new husband, and she'd never had a teenage boy that was just off the charts kind of thing. And so I got lost in the background. What happened was I started eating. And I ate and ate. On my way home from school, I would literally go through the bakery, buy 2 chocolate-covered brownies and a cookie and eat them before I got home. And within an hour and a half, 2 hours, we were sitting down eating dinner, and I was already full before I ate. But I couldn't say anything because my mom had prepared dinner. I certainly didn't understand what was going on. My mom never said a word except for one thing. You know how looks can kill? She would just look at me with shame. Is what happened to my little daughter. Here I am, like 2.5, 3 sizes larger than I was, but she never said a word. So what did I do? Well, I'd go on every crazy diet that crossed my path. One summer, I remember, I was in a baton twirling core group, and we were practicing in the park, and I just passed out because all I had been eating was iceberg lettuce. No nutrition whatsoever. Yeah. That started my weight loss journey. I mean, seriously, for the rest of my life, up until a few years ago. Well, actually, I'd been working on it, but in short, I bought a Diet Center franchise, and I thought, oh, owning a Diet Center franchise, I'll have to stay thin because I'm on, I'm on display, so to speak. But even that didn't do it. So I ended up selling the business, and I moved to a different town, and I go, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I went to work for a national organization coaching folks, and they had to eat this prepared food, and it came to Thanksgiving, and there was just no way that I could tell folks they had to eat that prepackaged food on Thanksgiving Day. So I walked out the door. I left. And I'm sitting there going, well, now what? Well, I was also at the same time on a very intense spiritual path. And so I'm living in this little village in California, Ojai, California, and I walked those hills hours and hours. And finally, I just received this message that the answer was the spiritual perspective. And I sat down with the knowledge that I had and created a diet, but I was going to coach using spiritual ideas, spiritual perspectives. Was it successful? With all of my heart, I remember this woman walking in my door. She sat down in the chair, and she said, and she was moving. She said, Jay, I haven't lost all the weight I wanted to lose, but I want you to know I have never been happier. I knew that what I was doing was true. And that's what I bring to soul-centered eating that I'm currently doing now and loving it, because it comes, and I love the name of your show, the title of your show, because it does come from my heart. Because I know when women get centered and grounded, this soul-centered eating is a holistic perspective of mind, body, soul, instead of what you started off with, dieting and exercise. So that's my story. That's what got me here.
I absolutely love that story. And thank you for your transparency. The funny thing is, since I've known you, you've only been thin. I didn't even know that story. Like I knew portions of it, like with your grandparents in the store. I don't know that we've ever talked about the eating portion that came after your dad had passed on and your mom moved away. And as you were talking, what came up for me is just so much around why you do what you do, but eating wasn't the cause of the gaining weight of your weight gain. The cause of your weight gain, and this is what the part that I love, because I'm always talking about what's the root cause.
Mhm.
The root cause was the fact that you had left your dad and been uprooted and taken away from everything that was familiar to you.
Mhm.
And when we're unable to express or articulate that, at most times in particular, because we really don't know what's going on inside of us, we turn to other things. We develop and establish coping mechanisms. So I love that you shared your story. One of the things that you mentioned as we talk about this emotional, or the emotions being the root cause of it, is you had given me a statistic that said 75% of people are emotional eaters, according to statistics.
Mhm.
So as we now shift and come into this, and what it is that you offer, you said that this is about mind, body, and soul, which always resonates with me, because society has us, I believe, many of the teachings and trainings tend to disconnect us from mind, body, and soul.
Mhm.
So hearing your story and some of the things that I know about you, I now kind of just want to shift to dieting, because so many people focus on dieting. So many people focus on losing weight quickly. And one of the comments that you said in the past is that dieting doesn't work. And this is the part, even though we have the statistic, you said that, it never leads to sustained weight loss. And I'd like for you to elaborate a bit on that. Why is it that it doesn't work and that the weight loss will eventually come back?
Mhm. Thank you. I love that question. And the statistic of 75% of the US population being emotional eaters is a huge concern. And it points us to the fact a diet is a list of foods. It's like a prescription. You take this and your blood pressure will go down. You take this and your birth control pills. You won't get pregnant. You follow this list of foods and you're going to lose weight. What this does, if we think in terms of mind, body, soul, it separates you from your soul, because you've given your power to a list of foods. You've ascribed power to something somebody created, and 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 they will provide the science for that specific diet. I mean, I could list them all off, but we already know a good number of them. But what happens is you're so focused on following this list of foods. What that does, it sets you up for so much of like, oh, I blew my diet. And that creates all this shaming effect that goes on, in judgment. And, I was just telling a woman yesterday how hard she has been on herself. She's developed this pattern of being critical and hard on herself. And I think some of that came out of a lifetime of following diets. and failing. So there has to be something different to offer folks. Emotional eating. Well, that's what I was participating in, along with grief. Folks usually think of grief as, oh, somebody in the family died, you're grieving, you don't eat.
Mhm, mhm.
And that is true in the immediate moment. But after that, how many people start drinking? If a spouse dies or someone that you're close to, how many folks start, working out and they started running. But some start eating and don't realize that they're grieving. But we grieve the breakup of a marriage. We grieve the loss of a job. How many folks grieved during COVID? They talk about the COVID-19, the COVID-20. A lot of that could very well be grief manifesting itself as emotional eating. I don't, it makes me sad that the diet industry in and of itself, yes, they'll offer you coaching, but as you said, what's the root?
Yeah.
Where's that root? Where is, I call it pounds of pain. I don't, when I see someone that's overweight, I often don't think they're overweight body pound wise, but as much as pain wise.
Mm,
Is that that's a lot of pain.
wow.
And so they think, the average individual would think, I'm stuck in this body. No, you're stuck in a story that you haven't been able to process yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really how, and having been a part of the diet industry, and I can't say that I'm not now, but my clients full well know that food is not the issue. Food is not the issue when it comes to losing weight. That's a huge statement. Why do I make that statement? Because the physical is mental. This physical, that, take my own story. It was a mental issue. It was not a physical issue,
Mhm, mhm.
because that little person that I was, I kind of live in that little person now, but it's taken decades to get here, decades to get here. Um, and another thing with diets is good food, bad food.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't have, that's bad.
I'm gonna pause you before we hit good food, bad food, because I want to first, you said COVID-19, COVID-20, just to help people who may not know what COVID-20 is, come back.
Okay.
So that COVID-20, and this is from conversations we've had, so I know, is
Yeah.
the weight gain that happened while people were on
Okay.
lockdown and things. So that's just to bring awareness for people who may not know that term. But I also want to go back to this, just what you said, pounds of pain.
Yeah.
And I'm highlighting that to again bring awareness and help people to really process what may be happening. Yeah, no, it's not about eating, but what is, as we've talked about, what's eating you, not
Yeah.
what you're putting in your mouth. So much of the narrative that we've been fed has to do with what you're putting in your mouth. And just as I was preparing for this, what came to me this morning, what's eating, what you're eating, putting in your mouth, but also what you're eating, putting in your mind, putting in your spirit. Like, what are the things that are going in? Are you in grief? Are you grieving? Are you in toxic relationships? Are you on a toxic job? What are the things that you're eating that is now showing up from a perspective of you being overweight, having pain overweight?
Yeah.
Like that right there. Again, the root cause. The root cause.
Who's paying? So where are you going to start it?
Yeah, I think that so many um, are in pain. And so I just wanted to pause and have people really reflect on that piece for a moment as we look at our society and we see so much happening, so much going on, so many people unhappy, and the rise, and one, the term, people using the term trauma, which sometimes valid, sometimes not, but the rise in mental health issues or mental health situations. Just to really think, I would not be surprised. Well, our numbers in terms of obesity are already high, or people being overweight are already high, and this is in regards to the US. I would venture to believe that it's probably worldwide, but I would just gather that they will probably increase as we are dealing with more and more stress. So I just wanted to pause for that moment.
Okay.
Also, this statement that you made, you're giving your power to a list of foods.
Mhm.
And when you fall off, when you're no longer listening to that list of foods and you start shaming and guilting yourself because that didn't work for you, it's like you're feeding the fire, because shaming and guilting, just that continues to fuel the emotions, the negative emotions. So now you're in this proverbial cycle of having negative emotions show up, eating to comfort, gaining weight, finding a diet, to fall off, to have negative emotions show up. So really being able to say it's not about the foods. And then now I'm bringing us back. It's not about the foods. So you mentioned about this good and bad food thing. So if it's, what are good and bad foods?
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to go back to the COVID-19, the COVID-20?
I just wanted to help people with that one to understand what the COVID-20 was, for people who weren't familiar with that term.
So do you want to start it again? I don't even remember what I was
No,
saying.
it's
I
okay.
was in the zone, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, see,
No, I think
I was in the
I'm just
zone.
quickly giving them that it was about the weight gain, but just coming back, as you were going to mention about people saying there's good food and bad food, so I want you to share, your thoughts around that.
Mhm. Well, okay. All right. Tell me when you're going to go.
Okay, go ahead. We're still rolling.
Oh, you're just going to splice it up and put it together?
It's all live, so let's talk.
OMG. Okay. The COVID-20 is, I love this. Folks were housebound. If you got to the grocery store, you were frustrated, you weren't able to go to work, you're sitting on Zoom all day, you can't go to the gym, certainly not to the movie theater if you do go to the movie theater. And we were all housebound. And this fear of, you look at everybody around you and you go, where have they been? It set up a fear around us of even fearing being around family and what that meant and where have they been, and
Emotion.
that manifested in emotional eating. I have this one friend that's tall, thin, gorgeous. And I saw her, oh gosh, months after COVID. And she had put on 20 pounds during COVID. And I said, and she saw me and she goes, don't judge me. I guess I gained 20 pounds during COVID. And I said, that was a frustrating time for all of us.
Mhm.
She said, it certainly was. And it didn't help that I bought a bread maker. She was at home making bread all the time and eating it. So, COVID was a mindset that kind of set off triggers. And maybe she was an emotional eater and she didn't know it because she had always managed her body with diet of some kind.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because that's just another one of those things with dieting, is that we're manipulating the body. It's totally out of touch with this. I can't say totally, but most likely out of touch with the soul, and the balance of the mind, body, soul, and the respect for ourselves as this beautiful spiritual being. So when I say good foods, bad foods, because of these thousands of diets that exist, each list has its own good foods, bad foods. So the business that I started off with, that I owned, on their diet, you couldn't have carrots
Mm.
because carrots had too much sugar. It took me a while to even eat carrots without feeling guilty. Now I pop a carrot like nothing.
Mm.
But this good food, bad food gets ingrained in us. And then it's boring. I mean, to eat, you just go, oh my gosh, it's boring. In fact, I was talking with a client the other day who's heavy into pastas. Her husband does all the cooking and he's sauces and all this. And she goes, he's not helping me. And I said, well, I don't know that your weight is his responsibility, first of all. Second of all, do you ever just have some vegetables without any sauce on it to know what green beans taste like, or whatever vegetable? Oh no, I wouldn't do that because that's diet food. So food without sauce was diet food. Well, that's ingrained in her because of decades of dieting. So this holistic approach to weight loss is a transformation, mind, body, soul. When I look at this, physical is mental. I want to stress, I really follow Deepak Chopra's statement. If you want to know your thoughts of the past, you look at your body today. If you want to know what your body's going to look like in the future, you look at your thoughts today. So paying attention to our thoughts matters. One of the key questions that, of my 3 pillars of soul-centered eating, which are self-inquiry, self-awareness, and self-transformation, that very first pillar is self-inquiry. One of the most potent questions that folks ask is, who just said what to me? Am I consoling myself with food? That opens the gate to be able to look at the thoughts that you're eating. And so, to elaborate on that, recently I was talking with another woman, and so I said, who just said what to me? Am I consoling myself with food? Well, that whoever just said something to you, that could have been a conversation you have in your head, and you may be mentally ruminating over a disagreement about something, or a purchase you want to make in the family, or whatever, and it's an issue. I said, so when you get to the table, it's not a matter about what food is on your plate, it's who's sitting on your plate. Is it your boss sitting on your plate because of work and a project that you're working through? Is it your significant other sitting on your plate because you've got some tension? Is it your teenage kids sitting on your plate? And so can you see how it's not about the food? It's about the thoughts that you're entertaining. And if they go unquestioned, then you're going to continue to eat. And just think, I've got to stop eating this bag of cookies or whatever it is.
And I know one of the things that we talked about in terms of the good food and bad food, like you just said, you just think I got to stop eating this bag of cookies. I'll be open and transparent, as I always am. We were talking about me drinking coffee, and I'm sharing, I don't care about coffee unless it has creamer in it. But what you helped me to realize is that it wasn't about the coffee, it was really about the connection that coffee brings for me, which is the connection to my great grandmother, who's someone that was very special to me. So now drinking coffee with creamer is no longer a bad thing. So I don't have the negative emotion that shows up. And I don't have to now go and, find some comfort food to go along with it. So I'm not feeling bad about it.
I love,
But
Catherine, that's a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, no, thank you. Because every morning when I have, not every morning, but now when I have my coffee, I can hear you saying, no, it's really about the connection to your grandmother. And I'm like, ooh, this is good. It's like even better now because I understand it from a different perspective.
So can I elaborate on that?
Yes, please.
So this is the centering part. You feel centered,
Yeah.
grounded,
Hmm.
and all of these other thoughts have been flying around the room are gone.
Yeah.
Your coffee and cream probably taste even better because the mental thoughts have dissipated. See, I love this, Catherine, because that's the transformation I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
God,
thinking.
I mean, I
That you
obviously I love this stuff. And so when we look at this from a soul-centered eating perspective, it's about self-transformation. And let me just elaborate here a little bit. We all know the story of the caterpillar and going into the cocoon and the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
But I've really thought about that a lot because soul-centered eating is 3 pillars of self-inquiry, self-awareness, and self-transformation. The caterpillar doesn't drum up willpower to go into that cocoon, right? But there is a process that is taking place, and it goes into the cocoon. And what I love about this, nothing is missing. Think, mind, body, soul. Nothing is missing. Nobody's wrong, nobody's bad, nobody's messing up. But it's really messy in there. And when I work with clients, sometimes it feels really messy in there. But the beauty of it is that we know the transformation is taking place. We can never say when the caterpillar becomes cocoon, and the butterfly's always there. And so then this creature evolves and starts flying. That's the transformation. When we stop, and it does take some openness to say, I'm ready. I'm going to ask, so, what's your stuck story? you think, oh, I've got to have willpower. Oh, I've got to have the courage to do this. Oh, no, but I am so darn curious. And curiosity and open-mindedness then leads the caterpillar forward to the cocoon for the transformation. And then we live the life we would love to live, grounded, centered in what I call soulfulness of eating soulfully with soul satisfaction, which is not intuitive eating, Catherine.
One of the things we said is that we may have to do a part two.
Yeah.
Because that is just a whole nother conversation, right?
Right.
I am watching the time here,
Yeah.
and what I want to do really quickly is just to have you, because we focused a lot on the emotional eating. So how would someone know if they are eating emotionally? Like what would you say are some signs so that it'll help people maybe just identify, like, hey, this might be emotional eating.
When you find yourself in the kitchen and your head in the refrigerator and you know you're not hungry.
Mm.
When it, in fact, who was it? Someone the other day said to me, that was it. She wanted a piece of pizza, a piece of pizza. She said, I decided for lunch I was going to have a piece of pizza. I can't even say pizza. And she said, I got busy. And before I knew it, I was already, making some chicken and this, that, and the other. And I love that because I asked her, what were your thoughts? Who had you just spoken to when you wanted pizza? It wasn't about pizza. It was about the conversation that was going on there. And so it's mindfulness. It's being aware when you find yourself headed toward food, just to stop and say, well, let me reflect here. Now, so that's one way of a clue of emotional eating. And yes, she was caught up in opening a new business and, we grabbed pizza at that time. For me, as the 13, 14-year-old walking through the bakery before I went home, I knew, I feel it in my heart right now as I speak. I knew something was going on, but I didn't have the words for it. It's like, when we tell babies, kids to use their words. Catherine, I couldn't find the words. So I was really ingesting all these emotions. If you find yourself eating and you're not hungry, if you find yourself going back for seconds, ask yourself, just pause. Is there something eating at me? Is there something eating at me? There again, and this is where I will say, I love coaching people through this. Sometimes it takes somebody else to point out to us the root of what is really eating at us. You may think it's X, Y, and Z, but it may be A, B, and C. But the good news is you're aware that you need some support to work through this, because it's not about the food.
Yeah, I know in my experience, many times it's having someone else walk alongside us in order to identify the root. And particularly because we have established a habit, we've established a pattern. It feels normal, the
Mhm.
behavior. feels normal. So when something feels normal, when it's so familiar to us, we are unable to really identify it as an issue.
That's right.
So as I'll say, probably every week, but as I've said, if you've been doing something, you've tried something by yourself and it's not giving you the results that you desire, then likely you need to or you'll want to get a partner and have them walk alongside you in your journey so that they can see the things that you're unable to see. When people are looking from the outside, they're able to get a different vision of what's in front. It's that saying, the picture can't see the frame, like
Mm.
the jelly inside of the jar can't see the label. However, the person on the outside can. So
That's right.
um, this has been rich, a totally different perspective. And we could talk for hours. We know that on this very topic. For me, it's because it brings awareness. It brings, it challenges the status quo, which is all about who I am, challenging the status quo and getting to the root of matters. We don't have those hours to talk, and people may have questions. People may be interested in learning more about what you do, how they can work with you, how they can understand, get a better understanding of soul-centered eating, soul-centered eating. I want to say that right. So tell us, where can people find you? How can they get more information?
Sure. Thank you. I'm on Instagram all the time, and I'm always talking on Instagram. I have a website. It's soulcenteredeating.com. You can book a complimentary conversation with me there at soulcenteredeating.com. I also highly recommend that you subscribe to Wednesday Wisdom while you're at the website. It's just a little home prose that I write each week that comes to your email every Wednesday morning. And on YouTube, I just started on YouTube, is my 21 days of emotional eating. And it's 21 days. You can watch the whole thing in 30 minutes, but if you wanted just take a little 21-day journey, watch one each morning and see how that message resonates with you. So that's on YouTube. I think there's also a link to that on my Instagram. I have, of course, my program that folks go through of Transform Your Body, Ignite Your Soul. And I walk you through the 3 pillars of soul-centered eating. You have weekly support, and I'd love to work with you if you're interested.
Yeah. So what's your handle on Instagram? Is it soul-centered
Soulcenteredeating.com or soul-centered eating, yeah.
and soul, SOUL? So nothing, creative with that. And then is it the same on YouTube?
It's the same on everything. I try to be consistent. It's SOULCENTEREDEATING.
Nice, nice.
And they can message me on Instagram as well.
All right. So there you have it. If weight has been an issue for you, feels like something you have just not been able to conquer or overcome, perhaps it's time for a new approach and a one that deals with mind, body, and soul. So I'd encourage you to check out Jay at Soul Centered Eating on Instagram, find her on YouTube, go to the website, and just have a conversation and see where it leads you. See where it leads you. So thank you so much, Jay. This has been amazing as I envisioned it would.
I love you,
as we sign off, my prayer is that you will always take action for yourself. Take action for yourself in whatever area of life is needed. And just want to remind you that in this life we get to choose. So choose to live a sensational life. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine, where Catherine aims to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Follow Catherine on Facebook and Instagram at I Am Catherine James, and visit www.catherinejames.com. Remember, to live the life of your dreams, you must go within and return to the place where your heart speaks.